Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, this whole week has been absolutely extraordinary because it's a celebration for our military veterans and the contributions that they are doing in society. But the main thing is they serve, and they were willing to give up their life to make sure that our great country remain great and that our great people remain free and that we are able to do a lot of the things just because of these great veterans. And I just want to say it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful time. And we also, with today, because were you looking or watching this show at on E360 TV or over 25 plus live streaming networks? If you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments and you can ask this great couple that we're going to introduce in a minute, or you can ask Big Al or myself. I mean, or if you just want to say hello and join in on the conversation, you just do it. Just go to StreamYard, not StreamYard, but that's what it says. You have to get them permission to show your Facebook or wherever profile that you might be on and ask us a question. So I like to also introduce my great guest co-host. I call him Big Al, and this man right here, I tell you, is a absolutely wonderful guy that's doing a lot of great things. Absolutely loves our veterans, our active duty, love America, love our great country. So how are you doing today, Al?
JC, it's always the Marine Corps birthday. We can't do it. Our branch of services, the Navy, the Air Force, National Guard, and United States Army, and the Merchant Marines. So let's not leave them out. But today is a big day. It's 48 years ago. I joined the Marine Corps, and I was in boot camp doing the Marine Corps. And here's what's funny. You go in to the barracks, 100 other Marines, and it's so peaceful because everybody was busy doing Marine Corps ball. We didn't know it. But come November 11th, man, was it something else to talk about? Trash cans being kicked, the eyes yelling in your face, and we said, "What's up, man? The past few days were so quiet. What's going on?" But today is a special day for all branches. This whole week, you've been amazing, bringing in these guests from all over the world. Let's get it going.
Well, first of all, I want to say happy Marine Corps birthday, and a good thing about that, Al, is I believe that the Marine Corps is also fall under the Department of the Navy, so that means that we are all related. As
We're crossing that line together. We're interactive. It's the Department of Defense that is the umbrella of who we are.
absolutely. So, Al, I want to uh, bring this couple on, man, because you know. Not only does the veteran serve, but the veteran spouse and his family serve as well. And it's important, I believe, to keep that in mind because I believe that the veteran strives if he got a great supporting cast. I mean, wife, children, and everybody is right there with him. So I want to bring this couple on, and we're gonna let them tell you about them, what they grew up, some of the things they're doing, how long they've been in the service, and without any further ado, let's bring on Dan and Mary Payne. How are you all doing today?
We're doing really fine. Very excited.
Well, we're excited to have you all, and I mean, I just like I said, as the service member, it's kind of hard for us to stay focused, and unless we know that everything is focused at home, So uh, I want to start off with you, Dan. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you, and just tell them where you grew up, and a lot of things about the Marine Corps, because I believe that you and I are both of you guys retired as W-4s, and that's a big deal. If anybody know anything about that, that's kind of hard to accomplish.
It is,
So,
and I just to be honest, I got selected for W4, but I never pinned it on because I got out before I pinned it on. So Al is a CW04. I retired as a CW03, but I feel just as honored to have been selected. In fact, because they were doing away with my MOS at the time, because the administration had sold our missile system to China, they were going to LDO or lateral move me to a major in lieu of CW4, and then I was going to run the electronic school in 29 Palms, but I had a daughter who was in high school and she was a cheerleader, and we weren't ready to make that move, so I ended up getting out. But Mary and I have been married 46 years. She spent almost the entire time I was in the Marine Corps. She endured that as well. After I became a warrant officer, I was deployed a lot, and there was an 8-year period of time where Mary and I were separated 6 years and 8 months due to Marine Corps deployments that were unaccompanied. But she was a trooper. She hung in there, and a couple of times she was in charge of the Marine Corps wives. And
okay. I think we lost him now. It's static that's coming from his end.
Hey, Dan, can you hear us? We got no audio.
Yeah, there's static coming from his end. He might need to log off and come back in, but let's pick it up from there. So he was saying that both of you guys.
Can you hear us, Dan? Well, as we wait for his audio, I'm well familiar with what he was saying. It's back in our day, JC, as you probably recall, General Money, Combat Marine Corps at the time, was on 60 Minutes, and they talked about families and so forth. And back in the day, if the Marine Corps wanted you to have a spouse, they would have issued you one. So it's come a long way. And as we see Mary and Dan there doing their thing, this is what this week's about. The military was much different back in those days than today. And on recruiting duty, we used to put 6 warm bodies in a month per recruiter. It's down to 0.8. And the reason why, technology. And interesting is our com with Dan certainly demonstrates the reliability on technology, but those things happen. So let's see how Dan navigates this one. And you're a com officer. Maybe you got a quick tip.
Well, I would suggest that Dan log off and log back in, and that might fix it. Otherwise, it's coming directly from his computer source, his mic source. But I tell you what we are going to do, and we're going to try to get in touch with Dan, is we're going to take a station break right now, and hopefully we can communicate with him, and let's get this problem fixed real quick, because this is going to be an absolutely wonderful and great discussion. So absolutely. I tell you, if you want to be part of this conversation, if you want to jump in and just enjoy this day, and also say hello to my main man, Big Al, because it is Marine Corps birthday. So we'll be back shortly after the break. Remember, it's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. I got Big Al, Albert Rentero, and we're going to continue to bring it.
We are not a charity. We are veterans. We are warriors, brothers, and sisters. We don't need, we deliver. OpsForVets.com. Handshakes, not handouts.
I'm Albert Rencheria, Marine Chief Warrant Officer 4 retired, Ops for Vets CEO. I invite you to take a look at our organization. You'll quickly understand why out of thousands of groups currently serving our veterans, we have become the most rapidly growing and opportunity-rich team in the market. We have deployed dynamic distributors who are responsible for servicing and growing their regions, East, Central, and West. We provide a complete roster of high-caliber services, produced to create the results you require. Find us on the web at www.opsforvets.com. Handshakes, not handouts.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, You truly know who you are? Love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you that this has started out already absolutely fantastic because we are recognizing our great veterans and their contribution to not just America but to the world and to society as it relates to communities and other things as it relate to. But in doing all these things, when our veterans, they come out of the service, they do well, they contribute to our economy, help grow our country, help keep it strong. And we got this absolutely fantastic couple here that, we got Dan and we got Mary Payne that I think Dan did at least 20 something. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that, plus, and time in the service, and Mary as a loving spouse. I tell you what, that's what makes the veteran. That's what keep us going when we know that we got that support coming in from our house. And Dan, you had mentioned something. You said you had to leave. You was gone for at least a year and 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, Mary and I were separated in an 8-year period of time. We were separated 6 years and 8 months from each other, from my deployments and being unaccompanied at different locations. And she hung in there and did everything she was supposed to do during Desert Storm. She took care of all the wives that remained behind from the battalion, and she mentored them and helped them get through their daily struggles. And I owe a lot to my wife.
Yeah, hey Mary, and can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you, and that also can you explain to them, even though the spouse might be wearing the stripes, your stripes are bigger because because you have to keep everything in order, especially when your husband is gone.
Well, it wasn't easy, but it was well worth it. I'd do it over again. I was busy working, had a career, raising a child, and we just get through it, and you have a Marine Corps family to support you throughout the whole thing.
And so, both of you guys, what some of the lessons I'm talking about um, that you guys both learned from each other during this magnificent career that you had in the service that you live by today, that makes everything that you do better because you learned these things. Both of you guys learned it in the service, even though Mary, you wasn't in the service, but yes, you were. So what are some of the things that drive you all that was instilled in you when you was in service, and again, and that you use today? Let's start with you first, Dan.
Well, Mary and I are both believers. We have a lot of faith. We met in a youth group at our church, and got married and remained married for over 46 years. And I think the fact that God was so alive in our relationship that it helped us get through the ups and downs. And I believe that our faith was key in the success, not only in my career as a Marine, but as a father and a husband. Mary?
Oh, I agree totally. And then you also learn to have priorities. Some things just aren't important anymore. You just stick with the big stuff.
You know, one of the things that you express, Mary, your children, I mean, they take the brunt of it because one of the two of you are not there, and 6 years separated is tough. How would you share with the families today on active duty on how to navigate that reality?
Well, you have to have a life for yourself at the same time. So I was working. I was involved with a lot of the Marine Corps wives, their families. Our daughter grew up with Marine kids, and that's your family, and you're never alone when you have a Marine Corps family supporting you.
And you know, I have kids. I think we lived on base for a while, came off base, and there was a unique adjustment there. How did your kids adjust?
Well, actually, our oldest daughter, when Dan retired, she really had a hard time adjusting to civilian life. She was used to being surrounded by military kids and families, and it's a different way of life. And when you're military, different things are important to you and versus someone who is not military. So it is hard to adjust. It's hard to adjust for the kids also.
You know, Dan, when you deployed, came back, I'm gonna tell you, when I came back one time deploying, my daughter was maybe not even a year old, and she was afraid of me, which is really tough to take. I mean, did you have any of those? You know, come home, here's daddy, and our kids don't recognize us because they're babies, and then they get a little older and they go, who's this crazy guy? You know, and this is important to share with America because those are the things that our culture, you know, represents. So what did it feel for you?
I think the last time that we were separated, and I did ask admin and the command to not deploy me as much as they were doing, but I remember one particular time I came home and gave Mary a hug and a kiss, and went to hug my daughter Rebecca, and she didn't hug me. She just looked at me and said, how long are you home for this time? And then she walked away. Not a hug, not a kiss, nothing. And that buckled my knees. I just said, you know, enough is enough. I can't be doing this anymore. Not like this. There's younger guys and other guys that you could be sending out instead of me. And things changed for the better at that point. My youngest daughter, I was able to attend a lot of her sports events, a lot of her high school and school events. My oldest daughter, who spent the majority of my Marine Corps career in the Marine Corps with me, I missed a lot of her stuff. I missed a lot of her first days of school. I missed a lot of her birthdays. I missed a lot of the holidays with her. And I didn't hardly go to any of her sporting events as a cheerleader because I was gone a lot. So she took the brunt of it, but she's a well-adjusted adult now. And actually, when I got out of the Marine Corps, she took it the hardest. She wished we would have stayed in. She was more than willing to go to 29 Palms. And I didn't know that. I thought I was doing her a favor by getting out. I had already served close to 23 years and figured, okay, you know, time is time. And she took it the hardest.
Well, Mary, with that said, how, from your point of view, did you adjust? I mean, they say there's a little joke, when retired, they get the whole person for half the pay. And because obviously we forego part of our our salary there. But how did you adjust?
I don't think it was as hard for me to adjust as Dan, because once you're in and you're busy with the Marine Corps, and then suddenly you're out, and all of those responsibilities and have disappeared. So that turned into a big adjustment for the whole family, just to get used to having him around more. The Marine Corps wasn't the first thing in our lives anymore, so it was an adjustment for all of us. We got through it, but it was hard.
So you mentioned the kids, and that is tough, regardless. I mean, especially when you're deploying a lot, and in the Navy, being in the Navy, that's probably was tougher on us more so than most of the services. But we already know that the Marine Corps deploys a lot as well. Uh, when did you all understand that the kids has adjusted? They have reached an age where they really understand the importance of what daddy is doing and what mom is doing, because you work with the wives. I think I heard Dan mention that too earlier, Mary. So my question to you is, the kids adjust, and how did you keep the wives and the other families when their husbands was on deployment from just losing their mind? Because sometimes it's like that. Can you explain that, Mary?
Well, we spent the holidays together, our weekends together. The kids were friends because a lot of them had grown up together. So we just stuck together and kept busy, supported each other when somebody was down, and you just get through it. And it really, really helps to stay involved with the Marine or your military family when your husband's gone.
We were blessed that we were in an MOS that was pretty small. It was a Hawk guided missile field. So pretty much every base that we were transferred to, we already knew people there because we just went to Hawk missile bases. And we knew that we were going to know people there. To this day, we've gone on vacation with other Marines that we served together with. We have said many times that the Marine Corps was our family because we all endured the same thing. Being a chief warrant officer, as Al would attest, we were normally the older guys in the unit. So the younger wives just normally gravitated to my wife when we were deployed and would call her for guidance and, advice. And like Mary said, they spent the holidays together. We had a lot of opportunity. We had a house with a pool when we were in Yuma. So Mary would invite the wives and the kids to come to our house. And they would go swimming, and they would do meals together, and it was great. And like I said earlier, to this day, we're still very close with those Marines. Now, my daughters, since I've gotten out of the Marine Corps, I've been very involved with volunteer work, with Toys for Tots, with the Marine Corps sponsoring a K-9 awards banquet that we do for Central California. And my kids are always involved in that. My kids do not feel like it's Christmas until they start working at Toys for Tots to this day. We work for Toys for Tots. We do the K-9s, the Veterans Parade, Marine Corps League, spaghetti dinners. My kids are very involved in that, especially my youngest, who wasn't as involved when I was in the Marine Corps because I got out when she was just 2 or 3 years old. But she is the most involved with Marine Corps activities that I volunteer for today.
You just mentioned a couple of things in there that's extremely important because a lot of times, many of our veterans they get out and they don't develop that type of hobbies or want to volunteer like what you just mentioned. And sometimes we sit back and we think about the past, think about the service, and we let our mind drift. My point is that I think it's so important to, when you do exit the military, to get involved in things like Toys the Tots and K9s and all of these other different things because it's all about giving. And plus, that gives you, I believe, that gives you new life with doing other things. But we always got our military brothers and sisters and other things that we do. So I think that that's a good message to many of our veterans is get involved, even when you're out the service. We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up. And I tell you, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments and ask this great couple any question you want to. We'll be back shortly after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Courage, valor, experience. The values that make veterans are the values that make veteran businesses America's #1 choice. Veteran business owners throughout the nation are ready to connect. OpsForVets.com. Handshakes, not handouts. Ops for Vets connects veterans with business opportunities. Here is a closer look at a featured veteran business. Every business listed is a verified veteran-owned business and can be found in the OpsForVets.com supplier directory. OpsForVets.com. Get on the grid.
Options, Opportunity / the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build the foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and we got the Paynes here, and I tell you, absolutely wonderful a couple that's kind of explaining to our audience what it's like and how we go about certain things, and when it comes to the military, how we have to be able to understand how to cope with certain things, even when the spouse is deployed. The other spouse steps up and makes sure that the kids or whatever that might need to be taken care of, and also support uh, the other families out there because they could be feeling down or might not be feeling the same. And also, most importantly, what Dan said was once you exit, once you decide to exit the service, you gotta find a hobby. You gotta find something that you are going to enjoy doing, that's going to continue to bring joy to yourself, but also, most importantly, bring joy to others. And what are your thoughts on that, Big Al?
No, absolutely. The reality is, whether you do 3 years or 30 years, you're in a fast paced environment. And when you get out, you can't afford to slow down. So you got to keep busy. And Dan and Mary are an example of how they stayed busy, because there's a lot to adjust to. And too often we don't share that story with others, because if you don't do something, you can crash and burn. So this is a good message to send out there, JC, is stay active, stay busy. And you may not find that place you need to be, but keep looking. And that's what we like to hear from you, Dan and Mary, is the what if you didn't transition this way? What would have been the consequences or unintended consequences of not making that choice?
I think for me, Mary as well, Mary summed it up when she said, all of a sudden she has 100% of me because I'm not deployed. I'm home now and, making a home, where Mary made the home for the majority of the time and still does. To this day, she runs the books and the family because I didn't when I was in the Marine Corps. I was constantly being deployed and gone for a lot of times. I never knew how long I would be gone for. The office would call my wife and tell her, hey, Dan's not coming home today. We'll keep you informed as to, they wouldn't tell her where I was. They would just say, he'll be back. We'll let you know, when he's coming back or whatever. So that was very difficult, but she understood and she hung in there. But, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was spiraling into depression because I handled a $500 million budget in the Hawk Field. We were the largest ground budget in the Marine Corps, aside from aviation. And, all of a sudden, I don't have any of that responsibility. We were being deployed all over the world for air defense. A lot of times the world didn't even know we were gone or what we were doing. So I had, I felt a need, or I felt that I had a purpose. I felt that there was a lot of world events that I had a part in, that, that I was being utilized in that way. When I got out, that all immediately ended. I got a couple of phone calls. After I got out, I was sent to DC, and I was able to address the Senate and Congress on defense. Senator Rubio brought me out there one time to address the RNC. So I got involved right away in other things. I was the state vice chair for the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. Then I got involved in worship music at our church. Mary and I have partnered in a lot of ministries. I got involved in missions, where my daughters would go with me to Mexico, and we'd build houses and have church services. All that started to give me purpose once again. It was tough for Mary because, she didn't know how to handle what I was going through, and then you just kind of sit back and hope he finds a way. But it was through volunteer and community service that I started to feel a purpose once again. And I saw other veterans doing this. And I immediately made the correlation between serving in uniform that these veterans did, and then when they got out of the service, they continued to serve their community. And it just I realized that it was just their character. They were people that loved to serve, and they didn't serve with the expectation of getting a pat on the back or attaboys. They did it because they wanted to serve, and they had that character, that spirit, that attitude.
What?
Unquestionably huge sacrifices. 46 years out of that, 8 years, 6 years separated. I mean, were the benefits worth it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mayor.
I did.
Yeah, for the time that we were in the military and times we were separated, now that we're out, was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. It was
Well,
totally.
share that. What compels you to say that?
Well, I look at a lot of other people that maybe weren't in the military and just kind of jumped from job to job or place to place and never really found their purpose. When you're in the military, you have to get on board, and that needs to be your purpose. Otherwise, you won't make it. So it was worth it, totally worth it to have that experience. And it was worth it for me, and it was worth it for the kids.
We put our families through a lot. I had two other brothers that joined the Marine Corps after I did. One of them was in the Hawk Field, and we ended up serving together at different bases. And my older brother was in the reserves, and he spent 22 years in land and port support units out of Lathrop. And when Desert Storm happened, my brother and I were both deployed to Saudi and Kuwait. And my mom was dealing with my dad, who had a terminal brain tumor. And the doctor said, don't let the dad know that his sons are in Desert Storm, because this could push him over the edge. And so my mom had to bear that burden on her own. And that was very, very tough for her. And it was amazing during that time. I was an advisor to Schwarzkopf on air defense. I was on the cover of Soldier magazine. I was on CNN 4 different times. I was in Newsweek. I was being in various newspapers for quotes. And I kept on telling people, I'm trying to stay anonymous out here because I don't want my dad to know what's going on. And I met President Bush and Barbara Bush while we were there. He got my information when I got back from Desert Storm. He nominated me to be his air defense advisor at the White House. My families had to endure that. Mary's sister and brother-in-law would come to every base we were stationed at, and every time we made a PCS move, they would come out on their own dime and help us drive back to wherever our next PCS or permanent change of station was. And we drove from Cherry Point, North Carolina. We drove from Huntsville, Alabama, the Redstone Arsenal Army Base, Barstow, all these different bases. We had not only a very supportive Marine family, but we had a great personal family. My mom, I will never understand how she endured all that she endured with two sons at Desert Storm, with a husband that she's caring for who's terminally ill.
Wow, that's deep. That's yeah. Want to change the topic just a little bit because we got some viewers out there that want to know. Dan, how did you use your military experience in the afterlife, meaning the job, whatever else you're doing, how you transition that, your experience to make sure that you utilize that to the best of your abilities after you was out the service?
Well, right off the bat, the leadership, commitment, loyalty, dedication something that is instilled in Marines. Being a chief warrant officer, and I was a gunny before that, you get responsibility and you learn to lead and you learn to motivate and you learn to lead by example. And I did that by starting a company after I got out of the Marine Corps. The technical part of my company was fiber optics and high-speed copper cable. And I learned that in the Marine Corps. We were transitioning from copper cable in the Hawk guided missile system to fiber optic cable. So I took that from the Marine Corps and continued doing that in the civilian sector. And in fact, one of my first multi-million-dollar contracts was from a prior commanding officer that I had, who became a full bird colonel in Quantico. He was a program manager out there, and he got us to train Marines to work with fiber optics, and that took off my business. We ended up being a business of making 15 to 20 million a year. I had 60 employees. I had 4 different offices, one in Hawaii, and we were very successful. We worked a lot with the VA hospitals. We did most all the VAs from Dallas, Texas to Hawaii. And I owe that to what I learned in the Marine Corps. And it gave us a lot of confidence to be able to run a successful company. And our motto was running a successful company in a godly way.
Dan, so what would you tell some of the veterans or people transitioning out of the military that's kind of afraid to take a chance and not certain where they might want to go, but have ideas but doesn't implement those? What would you
I believe that I think military guys and women should have that confidence, that can-do spirit because of what they accomplished in the military. The federal government has so many different programs for helping veterans to either start a business or to run a successful business. The 8A program, which was something that was very lucrative to me and beneficial, it's a 9-year program. You're a veteran-owned business, and the government feeds you contracts for 9 years. And they help you to establish your business. And as you get closer to your 7th, 8th, and 9th year, the government gives you less contracts and encourage you to get out of the nest and fly on your own. And after my 9th year, after graduating from the 8A program, my 10th and 11th year were my most profitable years because by then we had already established a lot of relationships with contracting officers and just how to do business with the federal government. So I would encourage anybody in the military, if they have any kind of an entrepreneurial desire, to go out there and get it. Get a business loan. Put a 5-year plan together, a business plan. Hook up with people from SBA or SCORE and have them mentor you on what they need to do to form a firm foundation in starting a business.
Wow, that's so much valuable information right there. And we're going to take a station break, but when we get back, I want to pick it up with that and also with you, Al, some of the things that you are doing to help guide our veterans that are on the fence about starting their own businesses, and also information why it's a lot of things that they need to be aware of, just like you're a big proponent of the card, Big Al. So we're going to take a station break, but when we come back, we're going to pick it up from there. And if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments and just ask any question you want to. It's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break.
It's not surprising that 2 in 5 military veterans becomes an entrepreneur. As soldiers, we're trained to leave no man behind, to cross the line together. As business owners, we make sure veteran owners and small businesses cross the finish line together. Connect, learn, secure contracts, create jobs. OpsForVets.com. Handshakes, not handouts.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, we got this extraordinary couple here that's really educating our listeners and our viewers, and on a lot of the things. I mean, just like I said, adjusting. I mean, how life is in the military, adjusting to life after the military, and being able to step forward and take risks or take chances to start your own veterans-owned company, etc. And I tell you, Dan, what you were just explaining about the 8A and all of these other things, that is so important that our veterans and active duty members that are getting out the service or thinking about getting out the service understand that you can do it. You can step out. You mentioned about a business plan and all of these great things, and I want to pick it up from there. And Al, I want you to jump in here as well. And
yeah, but JC, let's regress, because here's, I think, what made this couple successful. It's everything that Mary has done to keep Dan up. So Mary, this question is for you. With a lot of more families in the military today, what would be some critical advice you can give to the audience on a military spouse as they go through the process and endure some of the experiences you had?
I think just keep in mind what you're doing. It's you may not like where you're living for the moment, or but it won't last forever because you'll usually be transferred or things will change after that. So just enjoy every minute of it, the good and the bad, and no regrets. I mean, if you're going to step into that life, then you have to do it 100% or you won't be successful.
And JC and Dan, that's inspirational, because that thought is what fuels many of our entrepreneurs. Is it's a true partnership, and if you have a strong family partnership, running the business is where you take it from there. And then JC, me, the first thing every veteran ought to get when they get out is that VA card, and too often they don't think they rate it or they don't meet the criteria. But there's two requirements. One, you got to have served in the military, and two, have an honorable discharge. And the VA card is a critical element to that, and it's a starting point, because entrepreneurship is leveraging those resources. The working capital is just not financial; it's training, and it's that knowledge base. And Dan, you went out there and used and leveraged your military experience to do this fiber optic business, and $15-20 million is not a drop in the bucket. That's essential. I want to bring your son into this topic, JC, because he's 6 months in the Navy, and I think this week, and I'm sure he's going to be watching when time allows, because he's out there doing his stuff now, 6 months in. Is what have we not done? When you talk to veteran Dan, what have you heard, and what have we fallen short in giving them the information you just imparted to us?
I think, that a lot of people, like, say, JC's son, who's only been in for 6 months, they start to form an opinion of the military with not enough information. Of course, you're the low man on the totem pole, so you're going to get a lot of the details. You're going to get mess duty, you're going to get guard duty, you're going to get fire watch, you're going to get all of that stuff. But the longer you stay in, the easier it gets and the more rewarding it becomes. And I think a lot of people get out too soon. And when they get out that way, they struggle with civilian life as well, because they already have a bad taste of being the low man on the totem pole. They finally got out after 4 years, and they're probably at least an E4 or an E5. And now they get out into the civilian world, and the civilian world doesn't care that you were an E4 or an E5, or that you were on ship, or that you were deployed in Afghanistan or whatever. They don't care about that stuff. And now all of your time in the military, to most people, means nothing. And it's rough to get started with that kind of an attitude and that kind of a welcoming from the civilian world. I think people really need to give the military a chance. I think they need to. I tell all my friends and family members of those that are contemplating joining any branch of service, I tell them, let me look at your contract before you sign. I want to make sure that they get a military occupational specialty that they can use when they get out of the military. If they go in as an MP, they get to go to the same academies that civilian police officers go to. When they get out of the military and want to be a police officer somewhere, they automatically get to the front of the line because of their military experience. And a lot of people don't know that. There are a lot of veteran benefits that veterans don't even know about. And the VA doesn't do a really good job at promoting what benefits are out there. Other veterans have to school other veterans about, oh, no, you need to do this. The same thing happened to me, and then I found out I was eligible for whatever. We need to get the word out there to these guys to let them know what is available and that they earned it. They're not getting a handout. They're getting something that they worked for, and it's a benefit to them. It's not a handout. It's a benefit. They earned it. They should proudly accept it. Problem is if they don't accept it, eventually those benefits will go away because Congress will say, well, nobody's really utilizing this. Let's just get rid of it. So we owe it to each other to educate each other on benefits and encourage each other. And Mary was mentioning during the break that when you start your own business, you need to understand that there's going to be good times and bad times. And when you first start, you're going to wear every hat because you don't have the money to hire a multitude of people. So you're running the books, you're answering phone calls, you're doing the contracts, you're doing the work. But eventually, just like when you come in the military, eventually there's going to be people below you that can share some of that responsibility, and you'll be better off.
Wow. This is such an interesting conversation. We're down to the last 2 minutes of the show. I mean, when the conversation get like this, only thing I can say, Big Al, is we have to do this show again, man, because there's so much information that you all are putting out that's so beneficial to our vets and our service members that are getting out, and just our community as a whole. So 30 seconds or less. What is one main takeaway or two main takeaways that you want our listeners and our viewers to get from this great conversation with you two?
Is that to Mary and I?
Yes.
Mary, what do you think? I just think that people need to give the military a chance. They need to understand that that everything you did in the military can be applied to the outside life in a positive way, and take advantage of the benefits that you earned. You earned those benefits. take advantage of them. They're there for you to use.
Wow. I just want to thank you both for taking the time to come on the show. And I mean this, that if you guys get time in your schedule again, I'd like to pick up this conversation again and talk a little bit more, because I just like I said, it's a lot of people don't know anything about the benefits that they have, and I don't think the VA do a great job, just like you said, making sure that they know that. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show. You my guy. Hey man, I love this. This is a great avenue, and also to showcase these veterans and show the world that, hey, we got great veterans out there that's protecting our country, but they're also doing great things. I like to thank Michelle Cooley, my executive producer and co-host, for doing all the things. Most importantly, I like to thank our listeners and viewers for taking the time to listen to the James Cooley Show. Remember, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Is your life. We'll see you tomorrow.